Avery! What are you doing here at this hour? The intercom rang, and when I opened the front door, my grandson Avery stood there, drenched. And as Avery, with his head down, turned around, there was his sister Nellie, sound asleep, piggybacked on him. I gently took Nellie from him.
Please take care of my sister for dinner, and let her stay over.
Avery's voice was almost drowned out by the sound of the heavy rain. Come inside anyway. My husband and I brought Nellie and Avery into the house. Seeing our grandchildren after 3 years, we squinted our eyes at their growth. Contrary to us, Avery sat in front of the prepared meal without touching it, his head bowed the entire time. Avery, can you tell us what happened? Avery glanced up for a moment, but quickly averted his eyes when he met mine. Avery, we can't understand if you keep quiet. My husband sterned his voice at Avery's attitude. Avery flinched, then started to speak in a small voice. After a good talk, Avery said with determination, "It would be a bother if I stayed. Please take care of Nellie." And with that, Avery stood up and ran towards the entrance. Hey, wait! My husband tried to stop him but was brushed off by Avery, who had grown as tall as him. Don't be ridiculous. I can't take care of kids. Angered, my husband spat those words out and chased after Avery again, catching him in a tight grip. Please, at least take care of Nellie. Avery stopped resisting and hung his head low. My name is Allison. I live with my husband Jordy.
It looks like it's going to rain from this evening.
Every morning, my husband mutters about the day's weather while opening the newspaper and nibbling on bread over it as he watches TV. I always tell you, it gets the newspaper dirty. Either read or eat.
Maybe it's better not to hang the laundry outside.
Ah, he's not listening to me at all. This is the usual scene in our home. My husband is 60 years old, 2 years older than me, and will retire this year. He's a workaholic with no hobbies to speak of. I heard some people suddenly get senile or shut in after they retire. We need to find something else for you to immerse yourself in before you stop working. A conversation with a colleague at my part-time job crossed my mind. What will you do next year? You'll have plenty of time once you stop going to work. That's true. My husband looked around and gazed at a photo on the shelf. It was from Nellie's first birthday party. I wonder how Avery and Nellie are doing. My husband mentioned our grandchildren's names. I don't know. It's been 3 years since we last saw our son's family. They live about an hour's drive from us. We could meet them any time if we wanted, but it seems like Ella has been avoiding us. And, influenced by Ella, Carrie has become quite distant too. I want to visit them. But every time I send an email, it gets rejected, and they don't return our New Year's cards either. Avery liked tuna, right? Avery had asked me to go tuna fishing together. What? I can't remember making such a promise. But it's true, Avery really loved his grandfather. Memories of Avery from when he was still in elementary school flood back to me. We promised to go together once I'm retired, since I'll have plenty of time. Jordy said that and sipped his tea with a lonely smile. The relationship with our son's family changed after Carrie remarried Ella 5 years ago. Carrie started working at a construction company after high school graduation. There, he met Jody, an office worker 4 years his senior, and got married for the first time. Avery was born from their union. Jody, being older, was calm and had a solid presence, guiding Carrie in a good direction. I was surprised to see Carrie, who hardly did any household chores at home, skillfully making miso soup. I was always thankful to her for marrying him, but she just smiled and shook her head whenever I mentioned it. Carrie is very honest. I'm left-handed, so when I showed him how I cut carrots with my left hand, He faithfully tried to do the same with his left, even though he's right-handed. Oh my! Thanks to you, our house is always full of laughter. It seemed like the three of them were living happily, which made me glad. I'm sorry for suddenly asking you to pick up Avery from daycare the other day. This is some pickles that mother-in-law likes. Oh, how nice. But don't worry about it. I'm done with work at 4 p.m., so I can always pick him up. Thank you so much. She was always polite and built a good relationship with us. I thought this happy life would continue forever. When Avery was 9, cancer was found in his ex-wife. The cancer was quite advanced, and she was given 6 months to live. Mother-in-law, I'm sorry. Please take care of Avery for me, she said when we were alone in the hospital room. Don't apologize. I'd take your place if I could. I teared up. I've been very happy these past 10 years. Carrie and Avery have made me laugh enough for a lifetime, and I want them to keep smiling. Of course, that includes father-in-law and you too, she said with a gentle smile. And just as the doctors predicted, she passed away quietly on a brisk autumn day. Then began the life of just the father and son, but with Carrie working late, I started visiting Avery's house every day after my part-time job ended. If Carrie was busy on weekends, we gladly took Avery in. Is there anywhere you'd like to go? Let's go wherever Grandpa and Grandma want to. Avery never made demands and was always observing adults. He was reserved with us, his grandparents, which worried me a bit. Let's keep a close eye on Avery. That's true. So, when Avery said he wanted to eat tuna sashimi during a shopping trip, I want to eat tuna sashimi. We were thrilled to hear his honest feelings. Actually, I'm thinking of getting remarried, Carrie told me when Avery was 11 years old. The woman he intended to marry was Ella, a 23-year-old. Ella was 10 years younger than Carrie, working part-time at a bar. It seemed they hit it off when Carrie happened to visit the bar for a drink. I felt anxious, but when Carrie brought her home, my anxiety grew even larger. Nice to meet you. Ella arrived wearing an oversized sweatshirt, a miniskirt, large earrings, and carrying a designer bag. She was beautiful but seemed to lack common sense due to her youth. That was the impression I got. You're only 23, right? Getting married to Carrie means you'll suddenly become the mom of an 11-year-old. Are you sure you're okay with that? I asked seriously. We'll figure it out. Right? I think it'll be fine. Ella and Carrie's casual exchange made my spouse and I exchange looks. Despite our unease, we said nothing, and 2 months later, Carrie remarried. Could we live in the house your brother lived in before? We want to save for the kids' future. My husband's brother had moved overseas 4 years ago and told him he could use the house as he wished, transferring the ownership to my husband. My husband had planned to rent it out but had neglected it due to being busy with work. It'd help if you lived there. But it's in a different school district, so Avery will have to transfer. It's okay. He'll get used to the new school quickly. And so, they moved to my husband's house, about an hour's drive away, starting their life as a family of 3. I used to see Avery almost every day, but since Ella quit her part-time job to focus on homemaking, I didn't need to visit Avery's house as much, and our meetings became much less frequent. Still, Carrie would drop Avery off at our place about 3 times a month. The reason was that Carrie and Ella wanted some alone time, which was complicated, but we were happy to spend time with Avery. Avery, despite being a child, seemed to be considerate of Carrie and Ella, which worried me. Avery, are you enjoying your new life? Yeah, it's fun. It was sad to transfer elementary schools, but I've made new friends already. It must have been tough, being forced to transfer schools because of your parents. I wanted to ask about Ella, but felt hesitant to mention her name directly, so I didn't ask further. That's good. Let's go to the sushi conveyor belt with Grandma and Grandpa today. Really? Yay! I'm going to eat lots of tuna. Seeing Avery's carefree smile gave me a bit of relief. A year later, Nellie was born. We want to have a birthday party for Nellie. We want to have a dinner party. Carrie and Ella began to ask for money frequently. It wasn't like this with Avery. I felt a bit conflicted but still sent more money than usual each time they contacted, for Nellie's sake and to give Avery some pocket money. Once Nellie was able to sit up, Carrie often left the kids with us. We need a break every now and then. You must be happy to spend a lot of time with your grandchildren. After handing over the children at the entrance, Carrie and Ella would quickly leave. Watching their backs made me feel indescribable, but seeing Avery, Nellie, and my husband playing together warmed my heart. Avery adored his younger sister, who was much younger than him, and Nellie seemed to trust Avery completely, stopping her crying whenever Avery sang to her gently. Though worried about Carrie and Ella, we were very happy to spend time with our grandchildren. However, after Nellie's first birthday, Avery and Nellie stopped coming over altogether. Maybe Avery is just busy with middle school. Thinking this, I called Carrie. I'll be in the area this Sunday. Can I stop by to see you? Well, I'll have to check with Ella. The conversation ended with a vague response, and later, a curt email stated they were busy. Despite my efforts to contact Carrie or Ella again, they always had an excuse, and we were never allowed to see Avery and the rest again. Did I say something to offend them? I was happy to take care of the grandchildren and provide financial support whenever asked. All we could do was hope that Avery and Nellie were living happily. 3 years passed. Avery became a freshman in high school, and Nellie turned 4. Not seeing our grandchildren had become the norm when one day, I happened to see Avery. That day, I was out to see a movie in the next town with a friend. Around 5 p.m., as I waited at the bus stop, a bicycle zipped past me, and it was Avery. He was carrying a square backpack with the name of a famous steakhouse, apparently delivering food. Avery! I called out in surprise, but Avery didn't look back. Could it have been someone else? I immediately told my husband when I got home, but he was skeptical. There's no way I'd mistake our grandson's face. But a high school student working a delivery job. Is Carrie's income not enough? I don't know. We've been sending them $500,000 each for their birthdays, but maybe that's not enough for Avery? Even though we hadn't seen them, I had assumed Carrie's family was happily living their lives somewhere out of sight. But seeing Avery that day suddenly made my unease grow. Then, 2 weeks later, a shocking event occurred. It was a rainy day. There's a heavy rain and thunderstorm warning from noon. Be careful coming back from your part-time job. My husband said at breakfast, as usual, while reading the newspaper. Just as he said, the weather turned foul in the afternoon, and my husband was soaking wet when he returned home around 8 p.m. The heavy rain pounded on the roof, making the TV hard to hear. Should we go to bed soon? Just as we were about to head to our bedroom, the intercom rang.
Who could it be at this hour?
When we checked the monitor, Avery's face, looking down, was displayed. Quick, Avery is here! We rushed to open the door. There stood Avery, drenched through. Avery! What are you doing here at this time? Avery looked down, then turned around. Is Nellie with you? I took Nellie, who was asleep on Avery's back.
Please let my sister stay for dinner.
Avery murmured, rain dripping from his bangs. Come inside, first of all. I took Nellie, and my husband led Avery inside. Nellie was wearing a raincoat and, likely because Avery had shielded her with his umbrella at his own expense, was not wet at all despite the heavy rain. Since Nellie was already sound asleep, we decided to let her sleep in the bedroom. As for Avery, soaked to the skin, we sent him straight to the bathroom. In the meantime, we prepared some warm food. It's Grandpa's, so it might be a bit big. No, that's not it. Avery, you've grown so much since I last saw you. Come to think of it, in the rush of the moment, I hadn't really taken in how much Nellie, who used to be a baby, had grown. Seeing our grandchildren's growth after 3 years brought a smile to our faces. Contrary to us, Avery sat in front of the prepared meal without touching it, his head bowed the whole time. Avery, can you tell us what happened? Avery lifted his face for a moment, but upon making eye contact with me, he quickly averted his gaze. Avery, we can't understand if you keep silent, my husband said, sternly. Avery flinched, then slowly began to speak. I'm not liked by Mom. According to Avery, Ella had never really taken to him from the beginning. Even so, Avery was happy to have a mom and tried his best to be liked by Ella. However, after Nellie was born, Ella's attitude toward Avery became even colder. I really love Nellie. She's my sister, after all. But Mom says it's okay not to take care of me because we're not blood related. Dad never helps, always taking Mom's side. The more Avery revealed, the tighter my chest felt. I had assumed they were a happy family of 4. My own assumptions made me deeply regretful. Why didn't you come to Grandma's house sooner? Because I thought Grandpa and Grandma hated us. Avery started crying. Avery said that we stopped coming over because we didn't want to take care of the grandchildren, according to what Ella had told him. No, that's not it. Maybe Ella didn't let us see you. I tried to argue, but Avery continued talking through tears. Today, Mom didn't prepare dinner for me again. Then Nellie scolded her for it. Ella, angry that her own daughter sided with Avery and felt betrayed, kicked Avery and Nellie out into the pouring rain. You remembered where we live, huh? My husband patted Avery's head. After buying an umbrella and Nellie's raincoat, I ran out of money. We took the train as far as we could and walked the rest here. That's why we're so late. I'm sorry.
No, Avery, you don't have to apologize.
I should leave. I don't want to be a burden. Please take care of Nellie, Avery said, then stood up and started running towards the entrance. Hey! My husband tried to stop him, but Avery, now as tall as him, shrugged him off. Ridiculous! I can't deal with kids' troubles, my husband exclaimed angrily, then chased after Avery again and grabbed him in a bear hug. At least, please take care of Nellie. Avery stopped resisting and hung his head low. I caught up with them, took Avery from my husband, and while rubbing his back, said, Avery, you're misunderstanding. We've always wanted to see you and Nellie. But Carrie and Ella, they wouldn't let us. Avery finally looked me in the eye. I explained everything, how we tried to visit many times, how we couldn't see them, so we sent money for Avery and Nellie's birthdays through Ella, hoping to clear up the misunderstanding of these past 3 years. Avery looked surprised throughout. But it seemed he believed my words, as the despair on his face was replaced with a better complexion. I had no idea. About the money too. I guess Mom was using it for herself. That revelation shocked me. Avery also shared that he managed to get his high school tuition paid for, but he had to work part-time to afford lunch and school supplies since he didn't receive any money from them. The part-time job at the steakhouse? Did you know? I saw someone who looked like you delivering food the other day. I called out, but you rode past on your bike and didn't notice. Avery nodded sadly. Mom stopped making dinner for me once I started high school. The place offers meals, so I save on dinner. But today, I didn't have work, and sure enough, there was no dinner prepared for me at home. That's when Nellie defended me. Tears began to well up in Avery's eyes again. It's okay now. I soothed Avery's back. Was Carrie cold to you too? My husband asked, trying to contain his anger. Yeah. He just does whatever Mom says. I liked my previous mom better. Dad used to be kinder too. Avery then started crying loudly. My husband was at a loss for words. For a while, only Avery's crying filled the house, but as he calmed down, my husband said, Avery, the ridiculous comment earlier was directed at Carrie and them. Your grandparents will always protect you and Nellie. That's right. You don't have to worry about anything anymore. Oh, Nellie's awake. Looking towards the living room door, we saw Nellie peeking out from behind a wall, looking wary. Nellie, do you remember us? Nellie shook her head no. My husband and I exchanged a look and smiled wryly. Right, the last time we met was on your first birthday, huh? Look. Showing her a photo from her first birthday party displayed in our house, Nellie's face lit up. She then ran over to Avery. Big brother. What's up? I'm hungry. My husband and I looked at each other and smiled again. Come on, let's reheat the food for both of you. Avery, please serve Nellie. You know what she likes best. Nellie's presence brought a slight smile back to Avery's face. The two of them ate heartily and soon fell asleep together, snugly in bed. Looking at the innocent sleeping faces of the two, I held back my tears. Having let them suffer so much until now, we resolved to protect Avery and Nellie at all costs from here on. My husband and I quietly made this decision and got into the car. We headed straight for Carrie's house. The lights inside were still on, and when we rang the doorbell, Carrie came out. Wait a minute! Despite my husband trying to stop me, we barged into the house. Entering the room, we saw several empty alcohol bottles on the table, and Ella was laughing hysterically at the TV while lounging on the sofa with a beer in hand. Oh, father-in-law, mother-in-law. What brings you here at this hour? There's no what brings us here. Remember what you've done. My husband shouted, startling Ella. At first, Ella was surprised, but after putting down her beer can and sitting up straight, she glared at us. Avery and Nellie went to your place, huh? They came soaking wet. It seems you've been lying, saying we hate Avery. The money we intended for the grandchildren as pocket money never reached them. What are you planning? We're their parents. It's none of your business, Carrie said, sitting next to Ella, both glaring at us. They accused us of being foolish for believing everything Avery said. The custody of Avery and Nellie belongs to us. We don't want outsiders interfering. We've raised them well enough. Raised them well? You've been treating Avery like he's unwanted. At that moment, the doorbell rang.
Who is it this time?
Carrie muttered as he opened the door to find two police officers standing there. Yes, I had explained the situation to the police in the car and asked them to come to Carrie's house. The police officers entered without hesitation and began searching for the children. Where are Avery and Nellie in this downpour? Of course, Carrie and Ella couldn't answer. I explained today's events in front of everyone. You'll need to come with us to the station for questioning, the officers said, and Carrie and Ella were taken to the police station. The next day, we were called in to give our statements. Avery was interviewed alone, but since Nellie was still young, she was allowed to be present with us.
Dad and Mom ignore my brother. They don't even make dinner for him. My brother has to go to school during the day and work at night. It's really hard for him. I want to help my brother.
4-year-old Nellie tried her best to find the words to explain. Despite her age, she too was hurt by the abnormal family situation. Tears came to my eyes. Nellie looked at me curiously.
Why are you crying? The police officers are heroes of justice. My kindergarten teacher said so. They will definitely help us.
Haha, yes, you're right. Everything will be all right now.
Thank you,
Nellie said to the police officer and smiled brightly. After the children's interviews were over, my husband and I were called in.
As for the future of your grandchildren,
we expressed our desire never to return Avery and Nellie to their parents and our intention to raise them ourselves. The police advised us to consult a lawyer. Following their advice, we talked to a lawyer familiar to my husband. 5 days later, the lawyer went to speak to Carrie and Ella, who were in custody, about the following 4 points. First, we intended to adopt Avery and Nellie to gain their custody. Second, Carrie and Ella were to have no further contact with Avery and Nellie. Third, we would not provide any more financial support. Fourth, the house Carrie and Ella were living in was scheduled to be demolished next month, so they had to vacate immediately. Initially, Carrie and Ella were furious.
Don't you have any parental affection?
They screamed. To which the lawyer calmly replied,
Avery is your biological child, isn't he? Do you have the right to say such things when you've treated your own child so terribly?
After hearing the lawyer's reasonable argument, Carrie was completely silenced. Subsequently, Avery and Nellie were successfully adopted by us, and we've been nurturing them with love, enjoying peaceful moments together. Carrie contacted us several times opposing the demolition of the house, but the contractors proceeded as scheduled. He seemed unable to stand for a while after watching his house being demolished. Furthermore, rumors of abuse spread at his workplace, leading to Carrie's unauthorized absences and eventual dismissal. Thus, Carrie and Ella ended up penniless. They lived quietly somewhere for a while until Carrie approached me for assistance.
If you persist, I'll report you to the police.
I warned him, and he quieted down, seemingly giving up. Since then, I've known nothing about the two of them. On the other hand, Avery and Nellie, who initially felt tense living with us, gradually relaxed as we spent more time together. Avery quit his part-time job to focus on his studies and club activities, happily going to school every day.
Grandpa, what time are we leaving tomorrow?
The tide is full at 8 a.m. So, we leave at 3 a.m. If I'm not up, wake me up.
What's that supposed to mean?
My husband, having retired, started fishing with Avery. Though they haven't caught any tuna, they've managed to catch squid, sea bream, flounder, and various other fish, thoroughly enjoying their fishing trips.
So,
my husband stood beside me, clasping his hands.
All right, I'll prepare breakfast. Scrambled eggs are fine, right?
Of course, thank you. Then Nellie trotted over, puffing up her cheeks.
If you're leaving at 3 a.m., what time do I have to make breakfast? It's tough for grandchild.
Truly a girl. Nellie, only 5 years old but so reliable, is the idol of our home and my dear confidant. Sorry. I'll do it myself next time. I'll catch your favorite squid.
Really? Yay! Good luck, Grandpa and brother.
Her being easily swayed by things is also adorable. I worried about having nothing to do in our old age. Such concerns were unnecessary. Thanks to Avery and Nellie, we live our days filled with sparkle. Whether their emotional wounds will ever fully heal, we can't say. But if they can feel that there's a place here where they can laugh with their family every day, a place they can return to with peace of mind, that's all we hope for.